So Betsy, could you go ahead and call the roll?
Sure, and during this time, I kind of went around and I can see who individually is here, so I'll just say your jurisdiction: City of Murrieta, City of Wildemar, Lake Elsinore, absent, Menifee, looks absent, Canyon Lake, Temecula is here, Pechanga is here, Pala, band of, oh, I think she said she wasn't able to. She was going to be here, but the rain. I know Calvert and his office is not here. Senator Stone's office. Assemblywoman Waldron's office. County Board of Supervisors, not here. RCTC is on the phone.
Yes.
WRCOG. Southern California SCAG, I don't think is here, and neither is Department of Transportation for County of Riverside. Caltrans District 8, not District 11. Sandag is not here. CHP, here. And Marine Corps, Camp Pendleton, here. And just a reminder, the 5 of these microphones can work at one time, so when you're done on the microphone, turn it off, and when you need to speak, please turn it on.
Is any member of the public here who'd like to make a comment on something that's not on the agenda? I don't see anybody, so let's go to committee business. Item 1, RCTC updates on I-15 opportunities.
Shirley, this is Greg Butler. We've got the roll call that you heard. There's members present here, so if you could go ahead and present your RCTC update. Thank you.
Hi, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm getting an echo.
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes,
are you
yes,
getting
yes,
the
yes,
echo
yes.
there?
There's no echo on our side, so go ahead.
Okay, great. Yes, I'm going to go over really quickly over the RTP, the SB1 program, the Cycle 2, and corridor planning. Currently, we have, in the 2016 RTP strategic plan, 2 HOV lanes and 2 general purpose lanes from I-15 to the San Diego County line. For the 2020 RTP constrained plan, we will include Measure A projects or projects with Measure A and Commission priorities. And currently, the Measure A program includes 1 lane on I-15 from the junction all the way to the county line. And we don't indicate what type of lane that would be. It could be an HOV lane, it could be a toll lane, or even general purpose lanes at this point. So we will be discussing with staff what we should be including at this point in time. The RTP is approved every 4 years, so we could take a look at that again for the 2024 RTP cycle. But I will be talking with staff and internally and with Murrieta and Temecula to review what options we could include in that area for the constrained portion of the 2020 RTP. But we will still continue to keep 2 HOV lanes and 2 general purpose lanes in the strategic plan for the 2020 RTP. Now moving on to the SB1 program. Last May, we were successful in the County Transportation Commission SB1 program, and we received funding for the following projects. the I-15 Railroad Canyon Interchange. Mesa Yucaipa received a project on their county line road improvements. Moreno Valley received trade corridor enhancement funds for their Route 60 safety project. And RCTC, we worked with Metrolink and we received funding from the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program for the Metrolink downtown station platform expansion. So as we had our first experience with the SB1 programs, we learned a lot, and therefore we really want to make sure we work with all the cities in the county to be successful in cycle 2. What we learned yesterday at the CTC meeting is that they are looking at scheduling a call for projects for the Solutions for Congested Corridors program, the Trade Corridor Enhancement program, and the Local Partnership program. And it's likely that they're going to have all these programs released at the same time. It kind of made it easier for them to approve funding from these different pots of funds for projects, especially those that met criteria under different programs. So we anticipate in spring 2020 that they will release the call for projects. And so we will have the whole year of 2019 to work with the CTC staff and prepare or help them develop and prepare guidelines. So we'll definitely be updating our technical advisory committee, all our cities and county public works folks, on the development of these guidelines. So one thing I just want to note briefly about these programs. The Trade Corridor Enhancement Program, this program requires projects to be included in the California Freight Mobility Plan. This is something that we work with SCAG to identify projects, and SCAG actually has the authority to select the projects for these programs. So this is something we want to look at, especially with the I-15 and the heavy truck travel. That's something we want to look at to make sure that that corridor is included in the freight mobility program at the SCAG level and at the state level. The local partnership program is a program that agencies that administer sales taxes or fees solely for transportation purposes can apply to, and this program is really helpful for Riverside County, especially because we have Measure A and we have the TUMP program. So this is something I think we have somewhat of an advantage of, which is particularly helpful. The Solutions for Congestion Corridors program, this one's a little bit more restrictive in that eligible projects include HOV lanes, toll lanes, operational safety improvements, rail transit, and active transportation. Ineligible projects are general purpose lanes on the state highway. And I know that doesn't help the cause on I-15 because I know your request in the past has been to look at adding general purpose lanes. But in this program in particular, it's in state statute that the funds cannot be used for general purpose lanes on the state highway system. However, from what I understand, they can be used off the state highway system. So maybe looking at parallel facilities on the state highway system. So that's something to keep in mind. However, the trade corridor and the local partnership programs, they do allow for general purpose lanes. So we want to look at that. And I think the list of improvements that the I-15 task force is looking at shows a host of improvements and different types of whether it's HOV or general purpose lanes and operational auxiliary lanes. We can look at requesting funds from the different pots for those types of project categories that fit that particular program. So a lot of coordination will be needed at that time. And also the Solutions for Congested Corridors program requires projects to be included in a comprehensive multimodal corridor plan. And the CTC adopted the corridor planning guidelines just yesterday. So we will work with the cities on that. And also Caltrans is going to be approving a corridor planning handbook. And this is going to be a companion document to the CTC's corridor guidelines that were adopted yesterday. Unfortunately, we don't have a draft of the Caltrans corridor planning handbook yet. We were told that it will be ready in approximately January or February timeframe. So this handbook that Caltrans is developing will address corridor planning only on the state highway system. And they're basically moving from away from traffic concept reports to multimodal corridor planning. And I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that we are working with SCAG and the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority on a bi-county corridor plan. We received a Caltrans planning grant in the amount of $500,000 to develop a multi-corridor, multimodal plan covering Western Riverside and San Bernardino counties. And this will definitely include the I-15 all the way down to the San Diego County line. The timeline for this bi-county corridor plan is that SCAG will release an RFP in January, the first or second week of January, and we anticipate a notice to proceed in about April. And we will include local agencies in this effort, and so we will open it up to those that are very much interested in participating in the development of this corridor plan. I will stop there and see if anybody has any questions.
Any questions? Everybody's shaking their head no. That's a very comprehensive report. I think you covered quite a bit. Did you want to include anything else?
Okay. Just that we will be providing information on the corridor plans to our technical advisory committee. And that will be something that we will carry forward with other groups, so we could provide updates to this group as well. So I just want to offer that to let you know that we can come and present information as the development of the corridor plan unfolds.
Very good. Sounds like a winner. Is there any other questions? Seeing that there's none, is there any other comment from RCTC? Okay. Would you like to continue to listen in? You're welcome to.
Yes, I will.
Okay, sounds good. I just want to note for the record, I've never seen the back of my head like this before. And, okay, and I like it. Okay, I just want to let everybody know. Kelly, if you want to see yours, come on. All right. Oh, yeah, they did for now, sure. Okay. Let's move on to item number 2, City of Temecula updates on I-15 opportunities. A, the French Valley Parkway interchange, and B, Caltrans planned operational improvements along the I-15 corridor. Mr. Butler.
Thank you, Mike. There we are. Excellent. Got to get used to this big screen and split screen. We've all experienced the commute out there. Thank you to those of you that came down and ventured into the rain. But many of our transportation planning folks or those in the transportation funding world may not be. So this task force was put together to heighten the awareness of the congestion along this corridor, specifically the segment between the county line and the I-15-215 split. During our initial meetings, we shared a bunch of information from various sources about the economic cost of traffic congestion. And one report in particular caught everyone's eye was the INRIX report that said that this segment was one of the 10 worst in the United States as far as cost of congestion and the economic impact between 215 and the county line and actually going further south into San Diego County. I think we've all experienced that ourselves, and it's nothing to anybody in this room's surprise. The task force heard presentations from multiple transportation planning and engineering professionals. WR-COG had a consultant analyze location tracking data from vehicle navigation systems, from cell phone systems that provided GPS data. They determined where trips originated, where trip destinations were, and kind of what the distribution was of those trips, where they originated, where their destinations were, and assigned certain percentages to certain WR-COG zones based upon different cities. Some of the engineers also asserted that the volumes passing through the segment didn't take up the full capacity on the freeway. That was hard for many of us to swallow, but in looking at it, you know, if there's 2,000 vehicle lane capacity allegedly out there, and there's only 1,600 being conveyed through, perhaps there is a way we can expedite or facilitate taking care of that capacity issue and make better use of what we have out there. They attributed that capacity to the weaving that we've all experienced up there at the I-15, 215 split. Our French Valley Parkway project will address a lot of that when we introduce collector distributor lanes, starting at Winchester Road and then going up to the 15-215 split. Also, what they talked about was the weaving or the merging and diverging as you got on and off the freeway at the various interchanges along that segment of the roadway. That layered on with Caltrans did an operational analysis, and they reviewed and they came back with some recommendations on operational improvements that could be implemented along this segment of the road or a segment of the freeway. One of those they came back with was to introduce auxiliary lanes in between the interchanges. An auxiliary lane, as you can see on the slide here, is essentially an extension of an on-ramp connecting it up to the off-ramp that's at the next interchange. On the top half of the slide, you can see a typical setup where those getting on the freeway have to merge into those through lanes and compete for gaps and spaces. During commute times, that can be a challenge. The auxiliary lane configuration, as you can see on the lower part of the slide, elongates that merge diverge area, allows folks to get up to speed and then merge into the flow of traffic. It also allows those folks utilizing the freeway to get on and off without ever for a short duration to get on and off the freeway without ever merging into that through traffic. So they proposed introducing these between all of the interchanges through the segment that we've got being studied here. They also recommended that we introduce ramp meters into the system. There are ramp meters that were introduced at the Temecula Parkway interchange through our project that we just dedicated a couple of weeks ago. When those become operational is actually being driven by Caltrans and their operations folks, but the project itself installed the ramp meters at the on-ramps in both directions. The French Valley Parkway project also includes ramp meters. They'll be installed on the new interchange as well as the existing on-ramps at Winchester Road. So those will be installed with the French Valley Parkway project. So the primary recommendation that comes out of this one is to introduce ramp meters at the Rancho California Road on-ramps, both northbound and southbound. Now, in doing that, obviously, you're stopping cars on the ramp. So we will likely need to widen the on-ramps to accommodate queuing of cars on those on-ramps and quite possibly widen the freeway in the vicinity underneath the bridge to accommodate the two-lane on-ramp that's existing at Rancho California Road now. And those are some of the recommendations that Caltrans came forward for operational improvements that could address the throughput on the freeway lanes. They also talked about a couple of them that we're not pursuing anymore, truck acceleration lanes just north of the way station. And then we didn't explore this one much, but perhaps a truck climbing lane as you go your way south into San Diego County. So given those two recommendations, there's been a lot of activity that has taken place since our last meeting. There's a lot of successes I want to bring to light. If it wasn't for this group's actions, none of these things would have been brought to light. As Shirley mentioned, there are capacity enhancing improvements now included in the 2016 strategic planning portion of the RTP. I have 2 lanes shown on my slide there. That's 2 lanes in each direction, 1 HOV and 1 mixed flow lane in each direction on the freeway. I didn't put it on the slide because I forgot about it, but the Measure A 2020 is in the financially constrained portion of the RTP. Those are 2 things that we want to make sure that this group is aware of, came to fruition because we brought all this stuff to light. Some of the projects that Caltrans is working on now. When we got together last time, we were talking about introducing some projects and just conceptually talking. They couldn't commit to anything. They were throwing timelines out there. We could probably hit the 2022 shop. We went up and visited Caltrans, met with Catalino and with Tom and many other members of their staff, and they moved some mountains for us. They are willing to include these projects in the 2020 shop. And what that means is huge. Doesn't cost the local agencies a dime. Because SB1 is still intact, they are very, very confident that they'll be able to introduce these projects into the 2020 shop and have them funded through that program. That's $30.1 million worth of work. Did it not go?
Greg, this is Shirley.
Yeah, Shirley, what's up?
I just want to stress your success in getting these projects in the shop. For the last several years, there has been and very few have been programmed. So yes, there's an SB1 and their efforts for Caltrans. We have been able to include the operations and the art as well as the FDEP.
Shirley, you were very broken there. I apologize. We weren't able to pick up on much you said, but it sounds like you were applauding Caltrans' efforts in getting these projects in the shop, and thanks to SB1, they were able to do that.
Yes.
Thank you. But my next slide here, work has started on this, actually. We want to thank Catalino and Tom for jumping on this so quickly. Like I said, with SB1 remaining in place, they'll be able to move forward with getting the submissions in place by June of 2019. I was talking to Tom as he came in here earlier today. Last time we got together, they had assigned a project manager to it. They tell me it's the top guy they have. And that they've also now started to engage a consultant, because this was not in their books, to go through the environmental portion of this. So they're going to now bring a consultant on board to continue to make sure they hit that target and get this submission in place for the 2019 CTC submission for the shop. That's 2 years ahead of when they told us last time. So guys, thank you very much for getting that work. Good done. Another issue that we learned about, or an opportunity we learned about when we met with Caltrans, is they have a limited amount of money that they can pledge towards discretionary minor maintenance projects. And they are willing to partner with the local agency. They can pledge $1.25 million on a locally sponsored project. And that project will qualify for a streamlined oversight process, which means they can have the PA&ED and the PS&E phases going along concurrently and dramatically expedite when we can get one of these segments out to bid and under construction. So we'll talk about in the next slide or two, I'll turn it over for discussion, how we come up with that method, or how we come up with the cost-sharing scenario to fund that. The other thing we want to be cognizant of, again, thanks to SB1 remaining intact, that had some supplemental funds pledged towards the STIP. Phase 2 remains fully funded. The city of Temecula's engineering team under Pat and others, they're going full bore on the environmental revalidation process. They're going to be wrapping that up here shortly. They're in the midst of working through the final design on that particular project. We hope to be under construction in, what is it, Pat, 2021 or so?
hopefully before the end of 2020.
Oh, really? All right. And so lastly, I want to talk a little bit about Phase 3. That project is yet to be funded. We want to thank everybody that helped us out by sending us a letter of support for our most recent infra grant application. We expect a notice of funding availability to come out for the next round. We understand the FHWA is actually going to be combining rounds 2 and 3. They'll pledge a little bit more money towards it. We'll be submitting an application again for an infra grant. We'll be reaching out to each of you to get letters of support. If you happen to find yourself up in Sacramento or in Washington, D.C., and you need talking points about the French Valley Parkway project, let us know. We need a regional effort to support advocating for that project, advocating for transportation funding to be directed towards the state of California and locally. If everything falls into place here, we can find a way to get a local project sponsor to expedite the plans for that project, get it out to bid soon. The traveling public is going to see something under construction here probably in the next couple of years. And then once that kicks off, they could see construction going on probably for 3 to 5 years continuously, because we'll have our expedited project kickoff. We'll have our French Valley project going. That'll last a couple of years. That'll give Caltrans time to process their shop operational improvement projects going forward. So the traveling public's going to see the work of this task force kick off here in the next couple of years and then be ongoing probably for 3 to 5. So I just want to make sure everyone's celebrating those successes that this group has pledged forward. So back to the tough one, locally sponsored project. Pat and I have looked outside, driven up and down the corridor a couple of times, trying to identify a logical segment to take on as a locally sponsored project. And we believe that the northbound auxiliary lane between Temecula Parkway and Rancho California Road is the most logical to take on as a locally sponsored project. It'd likely have the least environmental clearance challenges. There's no drainage courses or anything in that segment. The Temecula Parkway project that we just finalized installed a pretty good length of auxiliary lane with the on-ramp improvements that they did. There's an existing auxiliary lane that starts just south of the Rancho California Road auxiliary lane, so we would just be closing that gap. Our only hurdle or challenge would be the existing Santiago Road bridge. The bridge cone and the bridge abutment slopes come down right to the shoulder of Interstate 15, so we'll have to find a way to deal with that. But we believe that's the most logical segment to address as a locally sponsored project. Cost sharing scenarios, that's roughly a $5 million project all in. 1.25 million coming from Caltrans knocks us down to about 3.75. How we distribute that, that's up to this group to decide. You could look at equally doing it among regional partners. The more people you get into the mix, the less the overall cost is. Remember, we looked at big data and trip generation factors, or not trip generation factors, but trip origination and destination. They gave us some percentages around where trips started and where trips finished. We could look at those percentages. We could look at any other opportunity out there. But this is one area where I think we can all rally together, partner, find a way to fund one of these segments while Caltrans is working through the process on getting the balance of those projects moving forward, and show our residents and our commuters that this task force was able to accomplish something.
Greg, do you mind if I interrupt you?
Go right ahead, sir.
Just for a couple of questions, and of course, any questions you folks may have,
I'll
any
do
of the
this.
panel members. Pardon?
One more quick slide, I'm
Sure,
sorry.
go ahead.
With the funding scenario, this timing or this ask or this desire is should be consistent with much of our budgeting processes. We operate on a fiscal year basis, July 1 to June 30. City of Temecula here, we kick off our budgeting process January, February timeframe. So we're talking about introducing a CIP project that's just called the I-15 Congestion Relief Project and see what we can pledge towards that. There may be a possibility for all the other agencies to do something similar. And that's basically, Mike, the cue to go to question discussion.
Okay, very good, and a very good staff report, Greg. If I heard you correctly, if the French Valley Parkway hits all of its targets and the shop project that you just talked about moves forward, it's reasonable that we'll have construction starting in a couple of years and probably going on continuously with the French Valley Parkway coming up next for another 5 years. So starting in 2 and 5 years, and significant changes will occur.
Yeah, you heard me correct.
Got it.
As long as the targets are hit and people can deliver the timing that we've anticipated, that will be the case.
Okay, so the accomplishment of that and this group's involvement is definitely praiseworthy. We did a lot of work. I think the first thing we need to discuss, and I guess it's my question to everybody, and it's the sensitive question, is what amount are the cities who are impacting that freeway willing to contribute? I knew Kelly's going to come up first.
Sure is. Who are the regional partners? Why don't we list down who the regional partners that are going to be doing this? Because the people that are contributing to the problem aren't just the cities. So let's talk about who the regional partners are.
Go
We can
ahead.
identify those.
Go ahead, throw some out. I think you have some on your mind.
No, I think, they're talking about the regional partners. I thought those were identified. I'd like to know who they are, because I don't know who those are. I know we have the cities here, but we also have Pechanga is represented at the table. ARCOG, I know they can't put TUMP money into this because it's a freeway project. RCTC is already doing their thing. So are you identifying regional partners as just the cities?
Well, I think we're safe to make the assumption that all cities who are a member of this committee, and frankly, all cities in this region, generate an impact, come through that corridor. If you're suggesting that Pechanga should contribute, I wouldn't disagree with you. I would just say everybody should contribute their portion based on their impacts. And I don't think anybody would argue with that.
Right, but the impacts are actually from people arriving at a destination. It's not, the pass-through traffic isn't the problem. It's everybody trying to get here and get off the freeway in Temecula. That's the problem.
First of all, I appreciate this dialogue, and I think it's been a long time coming, because I know that you feel Pechanga should contribute a lot more than they are. I mean,
No, they contribute a lot to our communities. I'm just saying, I would like to identify who the partners are, because I'm thinking of cities and their abilities to contribute to something like this. And I think that partner list is gonna get a whole lot smaller because they have their own issues to deal with, and they can't necessarily afford to contribute $1 million or $2 million to a project.
I would say that they can't afford not to. I mean, this is not a Temecula problem. This is an everybody problem. And when you consider in Southwest Riverside County, approximately 50,000 jobs of the 80,000 jobs in this region are in our city, a lot of your citizens are coming here to work. And that's a destination as well. So
Right.
What I would say is that we could calculate what everybody's impact is and everybody pay their fair share. I don't think it's appropriate that Temecula carry the full boat. I mean, there's no reason for that.
Other than that's where everybody's driving to?
Well, we
And that's
can't-
what we strove to develop when we developed in
That's
Temecula?
not where everybody's driving through.
There's a
The
lot
data
more.
that we presented showed that it's mostly all pass-through traffic to all of our
Okay,
cities.
let's look at Saturdays, when the traffic backs all the way up into Elsinore. That's a lot of people coming here. They're going to the wine country, they're going down Pechanga, They're going to your old town, they're going to the mall, they're going to the auto malls. All of those things were constructed to draw people. And now those people are drawn, and now you're going out to cities like Lake Elsinore and Wildemar and us, saying that we need to contribute to make sure they get there. And it's hard for us to go back and justify that to our communities, that we're going to contribute money to mitigate a traffic situation that should have been mitigated when all these things were being built.
Because, let's do this. I think it would be appropriate to separate both issues. Monday through Friday, everybody's contributing to it. You're alleging that on Saturdays, somehow that changes. I don't know that we have any empirical data that proves that, Kelly, other than your opinion.
Other than they're not going to work.
You don't know that. You don't know that. In fact, let me present to you, it's Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays where most of your residents are coming here to work.
Well,
at the casino, at the mall, at the restaurants,
So,
in the wine country.
absolutely. So
Right.
you created a destination for all these people to come, and they're coming. And what you guys didn't do was create the type of road infrastructure that gets them in and out in a good way.
hold
You
on.
guys have done a lot,
Hold on.
but you only have
Are
three
you
on and off ramps.
referring to our internal circulation
Okay.
network? Because that's not on the table here in this committee.
So-
This committee is addressing traffic on the I-15, Kelly, not interior to Temecula. If you want to have that discussion, let's talk about interior to Murrieta. And let's talk about interior to Menifee.
Oh.
Come on.
We spent a lot of money on our bridges,
And
all
so have
6
we.
or 8 of them.
And so have we.
And
In
they're all
fact-
widened, and we don't have these
In
issues.
fact, Kelly, we're doing the French Valley Parkway when a good portion of it is in the city of Murrieta.
Mike.
What, you
Can
guys
I-
are not participating at all.
I would like to have a little point of order here.
Well, you can
We're
have
not
a
going to
point of
have a
order.
big argument and a discussion about, we're not going to argue over this. I'm just making, that's the point. And that's the
But-
thing,
but-
that's the hurdle you're going to have to get past. And that's been the hurdle from the very beginning that you're going to have to get past when we take this back to our councils.
What I
Because
don't
I
want to
can
do.
guarantee you, they're going to get shot down by every single council.
Well-
So you're going to have to figure out a way to convince everybody that this isn't everybody's problem. And we should all be equally sharing in this.
Well, I think we have
So
the
that's-
data.
that's-
I think we have the data that substantiated that.
Okay?
What I
then-
don't want to do is go
then
out
I
on
would
a
say go ahead
tangent.
and present that.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, of course.
All right, so real quick, we, as a tribe, contributed 14 million to the ultimate interchange, and I can't imagine that we wouldn't continue to partner with the valley and continue to contribute.
Of course.
That being said, with all due respect, we're talking about what was built, what wasn't built, and what was built in Temecula was a destination. And it's not just Pechanga. There's other destinations that are sought after. And we could argue the point that maybe there should have been destinations created outside of the Temecula Valley. And obviously we're very blessed here, but we're talking about whose traffic and where it's coming from. And it's, if you're in traffic, you are traffic, right? So if you're in it, if you're experiencing, you're a part of it. So depending on where you go, I don't know if that necessarily makes a difference. We have a problem, right? And we just need to figure out that remedy. And when it comes down to presenting the problem and whether or not it may or may not get shot down, I think has a lot to do with how it's presented, right? If we come together collectively, as opposed to, placing blame or pointing fingers, I think that goes a long way in helping the community, our residents and councils to understand that we're all trying to work together. And I guess at the end of the day, we will continue to do what we can to help out with our fair share. So I don't want to continue, I don't want to promise what I can't, but we'll continue to help out. So
And we appreciate that.
Yeah.
We appreciate all of the things that you guys do.
Of course, Vicki.
I came in a little late to this. but I caught up quickly, I think. The way I see it is there's two issues here, and this is going to have to be presented that way. I have constituents that there's no Walmart in Canyon Lake. There's no gas stations in Canyon Lake. We have to travel somewhere to get everything that we want. That is one aspect of this, is the people that are on the road to get to these places. Now, there will be a contribution to that, and I've already started talking about that in my city as to how do we improve our lives and our lifestyles from outside the city. We've got to start expanding beyond our little walls, and it's been a welcomed reception. But there's also another point that I think maybe you were trying to make, and there is a destination share. I'm not seeing any of the money from your mall. I'm not seeing any of the money from Pechanga. So when they start talking about dollars and cents and who is contributing what, I'm going to have to see where each person gets that share appointed. I don't want to put in I'm being very frank here, it would be difficult for me to pursue my city's money to put in a lot of money into something that's going to make your city more money. So do you understand what I'm saying? I see two different issues here. I see one of getting my people moving through the freeways better and getting to where they want to go, but I also see that there's a give and take here. There's going to be, by getting these things open and more people able to come to you faster and not get frustrated and just turn around and go home, you're also going to benefit too. So I think that there has to be some consideration from both ends of the perspective, and I think that's probably why there have been these contributions. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be getting anything monetarily for my city out of this. I'm going to be bettering my constituents, well, no longer, but we'll go there in a minute, my citizens' lifestyles. I'll be bettering that. But there's also going to be a benefit to these destinations, and I think that all has to be taken into consideration.
Vicki, I like the fact that you separated both issues. I don't know, and this is why I was little animated with you, Kelly. This has nothing to do with the interior of Temecula. Nothing. So when you mentioned the mall, you know what? The mall's there because we worked to get it and did the infrastructure to do it, and now we're reaping the rewards from it. Canyon Lake could do whatever similar that they can do. What we're talking about is the freeway that your citizens are using, going back and forth. Now, Jared, quick question. You may not have the exact number, but we can speculate. How many people work at Pechanga? About 5,000 people. Our school district is one of the largest school districts in the area. I think they have about, is it 17,000? I'm not sure. Okay, there you go. We have the wine country, but we don't get a cent from the wine country because it's not within our city limits. Yet we have all the impacts from it down Winchester and down Rancho California Road. Pechanga wrote us a check for $15 million, I believe it was, for the interchange, and we're about to break ground on the widening of Pechanga Parkway right in front of them, in which you guys put up how much? Another $5 million. We have our house in order when it comes to circulation here. And where it's not in order, we're working hard. Focus on the 15 freeway here. It's not our fault that we've created an economy where all your citizens come to work and play. It's not our fault. If you don't have the money, and I understand that, I truly do. I mean, the cities are not flesh. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And we'll count on you just to support the effort because that's what you can do. Well, of course it would be smaller. I mean, I don't see Canyon Lake putting in millions. I mean, you know, what would it be, $50,000, $20,000? I don't know what it would be. And if you don't have that, it's okay. I mean, you know.
I have to stress, especially at this moment, I'm not speaking only to Canyon Lake. As I observe this, and as this commission has grown, I am only saying that there is a little bit. I understand what you're saying, and I really don't care what happened before now. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
What matters to me now is that it starts getting fixed so that people don't stop shopping, so that they don't they don't keep going to the online stores instead. I want to get people back out in the world to doing these things. So my focus is on how to then fairly distribute that. You can't pretend that when these things improve and we work with different agencies to get these moving, that there won't be a benefit. There will be a really feel-good benefit for my citizens, but we're not going to get any money out of it. You will get money out of it.
How do you
will
figure
get
that?
money.
Where do you get that idea? Where does that come from? How do
well-
we, city, make money by the freeway being widened? You just follow
I'm-
that train of thought.
Okay.
Follow that train of thought. The freeway's widened.
Well,
How does that equal money to Temecula?
Okay, I'll chip in, Mike.
Yes.
The way that translates into money for Temecula is when people wake up in the morning and they say, are we gonna go shop down there? Oh, heck no, I don't wanna get stuck in the traffic. So they don't. That is money taken out of your city. Okay, when it's easier to get there, if it was easy to get to the mall right now, everybody would go there. But it's not. So a lot of people, including my wife and I are just a good example, we plan around what time it is and where we want to go, and sometimes we don't go this way. It was like In-N-Out Burger. You know, I'll use it as an example. When they didn't want to build one in our city, and I told them, you guys, there's a whole market out there. What you're saying is that we'll go there no matter what, and we won't. A lot of shoppers won't go there no matter what. They're going to go there if it's convenient. Right now, it's not as convenient, and you're still making a lot of money off of that, and that's good. If it's more convenient to get there, more people will come down there, and will be able to get off the freeway and get over to Cheesecake Factory and get into the mall and go over to the auto malls and stuff like that. It'll be more convenient, and people will want to go there. They'll want to go down to Pechanga. They won't say, you know what, that's a great concert they're having, but I just don't want to deal with it. And so they'll want to go down there. And they can expand even more and accommodate that. So when access is better, people are more inclined to use it. And that creates more growth, and it creates, more money.
And
So
more-
that's I think what she's talking about.
And what you said is pure speculation based on nothing. But if I could tell you what happens if your scenario comes to pass, your citizens are working.
So you know what?
We can go round and round.
What I'd like to do is not go round and round. I'd like to just move on. We've kind of given our perspective from our point of view, and you've given your perspective from your point of view, and I accept that perspective.
Fair enough.
And so now we have to decide what method you want us to take back to our communities, and
I'll refer
and
back
say,
to staff on that. What I do want to do is keep the problem framed where it's quantifiable and not speculative. That's where it needs to stay. Okay? That's all I want. So speculation of more jobs, more money to.
And the other thing to keep in mind, Mike, is there's a lot of lateral roads that are trying to be put in Bundy Canyon to Scott, Railroad Canyon to Newport, Clinton Keith getting the end of it fixed, and Clinton Keith through Wildemar. And putting, cities that if they take money out of there, that's less money that they can put into those. And those laterals are what keeps a lot of people from coming all the way down to the 79 and joining the other people that want to go there for other purposes. A lot of the traffic, and it's starting to have an impact by having Clinton Keith open all the way. But a lot of those people are trying to drive to the interior, and they're getting stuck in traffic with all the people that are trying to go to the amenities. And so there's a mix there.
That's speculative. I mean, you're speculating.
Well, it's not really speculative, it's just common sense. So I think what I'm saying is,
They could be
There's-
clogging the roads because they're going to work. It's speculation. Kelly,
All right.
you got to just use the focus
so
on
anyway,
the
so now
data.
you know what we're kind of thinking.
have hard data to.
I'll refer back to my staff. How would you respond, Pat, Greg, to what Vicki and Kelly brought up?
I'm just asking, so there will be hard data to back up the percentages that it will be asked of?
That's one way.
That's one way, just a quick example. I'm not saying this is the appropriate way. If you could throw the slide up, Jonathan. This came from WRCOG's data where they tracked where trips were going to.
Midweek, right?
Midweek commuter traffic.
Kelly.
The I-15 segment, that's where the cars are going to. The people that will benefit the most, if you look at that percentage, are the 42% of the trips going to Murrieta. Into the city of Murrieta. Home. They're going home to Murrieta. These are commuters Monday through Friday, PM peak. Those are the people we're trying to help. That's just one method. If we said, money's no object, this is the distribution, you're going to pay by benefit, that's one method of distribution. We're not saying it's the right one. That's just one way, and that's hard data that we got from a research company.
And Greg, it's probably important to disclose, again, this was midweek, to your point, Kelly. I don't think there was an analysis done for weekend. That could be something that could probably easily be commissioned and done. And again, I want to just say too, what was shared today is a good thing.
Right.
Good thing, meaning I don't want that to get lost in that $30 million worth of operational improvements that Caltrans has agreed to do is fantastic. If we want to save some time, we have the opportunity as a subregion to pick one of those and contribute financially towards it. If we don't, then we don't. We wait it out. It's included in the shop. Those programs will happen on their timeline. We think it's in our best interest to take one of those, take advantage of the 1.25 million. They're going to credit, come up with 3.5 million, the balance as a subregion or partners, whoever those partners become. We're committing to Caltrans today. That's what we want to do. Who's in with us and how we figure that out is yet to be worked out. So I just want to add that.
Thank you.
So maybe I could just, help us as we walk out of here, Mike and Kelly and the rest of you. So the 1.25 million, let me just back up. So to come up with the difference for any one of these $5 to $7 million projects, whatever we all agree they're in a reasonable range, Caltrans agrees to put 1.5 shop, that pushes the project up 2 years. So far I'm kind of re-emphasizing what was said. When would the contribution or when would the cash flow for that balance be due? And maybe that's helpful for us to understand. That's one question. Then the second question is, as you've looked into this, what other colors of money have you identified that could be possible for the other agencies as we're considering this and bring this back to our council? Are there other colors of money that you've identified that might be something that could be used for that?
Well, just from a timing standpoint, and these are just estimates and projections, is we believe that we could have that one segment planned, design, environmental plans prepared, bid, ready to go to construction by early 2021. So we're estimating it's about 2 years to go through that process to get plans ready to be able to go to construction. So from a timing standpoint, as Greg mentioned earlier, we're not needing funding today. And what we're looking at is incorporating the funding into our 1920 capital improvement program budget. So that's our plan. Regarding the color of money, we're looking at local funds, city funds, I would imagine, and I'm just kind of throwing things out here now, potentially Measure A could be pledged towards that. Measure S, that's our funds. Whether the SB1, your local share of the SB1 funds could be, used for that purpose. That's something we may need to look into. So there are some options as far as the color of money that could be used for that purpose.
And Dan, I will tell you this, my staff may not agree, but if we don't, Temecula will have to come up with its share, and I will advocate it taking it from our reserves if we have to. That's how important this is. It will come out of our reserves. It's worth it. That's what the reserves are for. Anyway, go ahead. You had more to say.
Yeah, I was just going to, Measure A was one that had come to my mind. I know we do a 5-year rollout. And what I was curious is, because this also has a regional nature, and that's definitely where RCTC fits, It might be worthy at an upcoming RCTC meeting, maybe give a presentation, Greg, Pat, and have a discussion about maybe some kind of a shared use that way and have another partner come to the table. Kelly raised a good point. Who are those partners, right? And Gary's been noodling together and he's been running different numbers, the finance part of our city manager. And, I think it's helpful for us to walk out of here knowing that we have 2 years to budget and appropriate so much for, and that we also have other opportunities to find other colors of money to help offset this. So at the end of the day, great job, 30.1 million. Thank you, yeah.
So if I heard you correctly, and taking into consideration what Kelly said, we need to identify who the regional partners are, their fair share, and what was the last one that you said?
Colors of money.
And the different colors of money, yeah, and then the timing for it.
Yeah, Dan's absolutely correct. It just penciling out a quick schedule here. Design is going to be a year-plus long process, but if you go through environmental and design stuff. So you have 2 fiscal year budgeting cycles to come up with whatever we deem as an appropriate contribution. And so
when can we have this information that we're just talking about? The who are the players? And I'm not sure I guess, Kelly, what's the criteria for being a player? What are you looking for? Okay. I think, we have Pechanga here. We have the cities.
Right. Right. And if I could just throw something else out here too. So, we're talking about somewhere between $3 and $4 million. Let's just say there's 6 partners. So we're talking about potentially $600,000 for each partner, if it were to be done just on a per partner basis. So there's numerous ways that the cost sharing could be.
I would advocate that it's by impact. In other words, there's no way we go to Canyon Lake.
Okay, so I go back to Murrieta and say 42.5% of that is going to come out of our coffers. It's
Kelly,
probably not going to fly.
Well, how else would you? I know that, you're right, but how else would we calculate it? I'm open. How else would you calculate it?
Number one, you have to know who the people are that are going to contribute. Because if you start out with whoever's sitting at the table and then 5 of them say, you know what, we're not going to be able to do that. Well, that becomes a bigger nut for just 2 people. And so that's what I'm saying is you're going to have to find out who benefits and how much they're willing to contribute. Whether it's the Wine Country Association or the Riverside County, because that's part of their thing. Whether that's Pechanga, whether that's Pala, because Pala has also stated that they're being impacted by this. The various cities, there's a lot, and the more there is to share, the more probability and chance there is for success.
Correct.
So so that's what I'm saying is when you figure out who's affected and how much each person would have to come up with. The more there are, the better chance you're going to have to get participation. Because if I went back and said 42.5%, then that would be 42.5% less that everybody else would have to pick up. And that's something that I'm saying is not going to be tenable. I can guarantee it.
Of course.
So,
yeah.
So anyway, I want it to be successful. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to say that if we're going to do that, it's not going to be. Because if the biggest... The 42.5% decides they're not going to participate, then everybody else has to step up even more. And I don't think Canyon Lake, and I know Lake Elsinore won't, and they won't be able to. And then it kind of falls apart. So let's figure out who is benefiting by this and how many people we can get, including the county, to participate in this.
I have a question. On who's benefiting, haven't we done that by forming this group, or have we missed some things? Is there somebody that should be here that's not? That's question 1. And then question 2 is, do we need more data as to who is impacting the most? So
Right.
those two questions.
Okay.
Kelly, did I frame that correctly?
I guess you can say you framed that correctly. But there's another impact also that you can look at.
Okay.
And that's the sales tax impact. If you look at the sales tax generation versus the population and what we should generate, you'll find there's some disparity among the cities and prosperity in Temecula, because that means our citizens, Menifee citizens, Lake Elsinore citizens, they're shopping here and they're spending money here. And so there's an argument to be said that if you're making $6 but now $12 million more, then use some of that. Use some of that to help offset this.
I don't want to go round and round, but if your citizens are working here and getting a paycheck and taking it back to your city and are doing it on the freeway, they're just as culpable.
They're probably not working all in Temecula. I think they're working in San Diego.
Well, that could be too. So
That's where a
that could
lot
be
of them
too.
are working. So,
But you were
so
just
anyway.
referencing the disparity between sales tax.
I'm
I was
just
just
saying that's-
responding to that.
I'm just saying, that's what a lot of our citizens, their citizens, all the surrounding areas, they are dropping money into the city via the sales tax mechanism, and that should be taken into consideration. So that's all.
We had a lot of angst with the traffic into the wine country. And I'll tell you why we did is not only were they using our roads, which we had to maintain and got no benefit from, but police and fire and any other type of public works all fell on us as well, and we didn't get a penny from it. I'm not certain what we can do with it. That's just kind of how the deck was dealt. Anyway, just wanted you to know that we experience that too. But we get all the impacts from whatever we make. So, it's we're frightened JCPenney's is going to go out of business. Sears is going out of business. We knew that years ago and went and recruited the Cheesecake Factory. So my staff is very dynamic when it comes to those things. It's just what we do. I don't know that we should be penalized for it. We're going to go round and
Well,
round.
so from the city of Wildemar, what we're going to commit to do in closing out this topic, subject to council, what we intend to do is we're going to take the data that you've provided, and maybe, Pat, if you could resend the big data and some of those data points that we had used in the past. And staff will run through a formula that we think's fair, that we'll share with our council, and I would recommend that the other agencies do the same, and then that could be a healthy, maybe a different discussion. We may all have a different opinion, Mike, of how we carve this up, but I think at the end of the day, we won't solve it here, but I think we understand what you're asking us to do. We'll get your data, we'll come back, we'll take a look at it, talk to our council before we meet with you all again.
That's good, Dan, and I think that's a good approach, and I think that's the approach everybody should take. I want to make it clear, we don't want any disparity. Kelly, if you turn out to be right, that somehow there's this disproportionate benefit because people shop here, then yeah, we'll take on that burden. I don't know how you can quantify it, but the point is, we'll pay what we impact. We'll guarantee that. That I will guarantee my council will do, because I know my council.
Mike, if I
Yes,
may, real
go
quick.
ahead. Go ahead.
Dan, thank you for saying that, and Kelly, I'll try to answer those questions as best I can. But who do we consider the stakeholders here? I think they're here. I think they are on the agenda. They've been invited. They're part of this task force. Not all of them are here, unfortunately, but I think these are what I would consider personally the stakeholders. Now, if we want to define stakeholders as when we drill down on the data, on who's going where, we can look at that. And I think we got work to do here to satisfy the task force and to come up with equitable ways to propose fair share contributions. And we're committed to doing that. We will absolutely do that. But and I don't know if this is in the big data report, but are there folks going north of Canyon Lake? Yeah, there are. Are they going into Riverside? Are they going into San Bernardino? Are they going into OC? What does that look like? And how do we address that? And how should, so I think this is just a snapshot of the subregion and the task force that's been at the table talking about one of the most congested corridors in the country. So I don't think we're in a position to extend the stakeholders all the way up into San Bernardino because folks are driving there. This is in our backyard and specifically Temecula's, but we could have looked at any one of the corridors. We happen to choose this. And so I get what everyone's saying. We got work to do, but we're prepared to sit down with staff from every single city that's represented here. Maybe that's the next step and talk about what that may look like. And then if there are opportunities to bring it back to your respective councils, yes, no, maybe, we'd just like to hear that. We got a little bit of time. I think what we wanted to send to Caltrans is we're going to find a way to do this. So we want to expedite and we'll get creative. And I'm speaking on behalf of Temecula now, not the entire task force. So
Exactly. Anybody else have anything they want to say on this topic? If not, we'll move on, or we can all voice our opinion right now, whatever you want to do.
Real quick, one more
Yes,
thing.
Jared.
I just want, I'm a member of the tribe. I just want to, that is obvious. But I live in Marietta. So I drive these roads every day and I understand the issue. And I'm one of those individuals who's coming and going from work with other employees. And I'm one of those individuals, one of the citizens, one of the residents that, I want to get to my family quicker. And so how can we do that? How can we figure out how to get to our loved ones quicker and safer? So, again, I appreciate being a part of this process. And so thank you.
You're welcome. And just as I close my last comment or whatever anybody else has, I just want you to know, particularly you, Kelly, when we did the interchange project and when we're widening Pechanga Parkway, we did traffic counts for Pechanga. We did those counts. We know how many people are coming off the freeway and going to Pechanga, and they contributed their fair share. That was appropriate. Any more than that would be unfair, would be a gift. That's what I'm saying. If you want to reply, feel free. I just wanted you to know that. Fair enough.
I think Aaron's suggestion that we allow staff some time to digest and maybe throw these things around a little bit and work amongst themselves to come up with potential solutions so that we can take advantage of what Caltrans is generously offering. I think that's the best thing for us to do right now.
What do you think is a equitable time frame to get back to us? When would you want the cities to get back
That'd be
to you guys?
staff driven.
Well, we're looking at potentially being able to start construction on this project in 2021. That's when the bulk of the funding would be needed. We will need some of it to begin the design work and the environmental work and do the early preparation part, but the majority in 2 years. We're planning to allocate funds in our fiscal year 19-20 budget. We'd hopefully like the other partners to have that same opportunity. So it would be good to say within the next 3 months, have some meetings and potentially try to come up with some kind of a cost-sharing program.
Does that sound good to this group? I want to have consensus. Everybody okay with that? Okay, very good. I think, moving on, I think there was another recommendation you wanted, Greg?
The only other thing is the next item on the agenda was scheduled task force meeting. It kind of lends it right into this current discussion. Or was
Before
there
we
some-
go on, I think you wanted to, let's see here, I have it down here. You wanted to make sure task force members continue to prioritize this regionally significant project and continue to lobby for the third phase of French Valley Parkway. Is there anything more you want to say about that?
No, that was just wanted to make sure it's at the forefront of everybody's mind when they're out there advocating or lobbying. We can provide talking points if they need.
Okay, Very good. And go ahead with what you were going to say.
The other item on the agenda was just, lends itself to this tailing into this discussion was, rather than fixing a schedule for meetings, we were kind of thinking it would be an as-needed basis for 2019. So what we can do is we can distribute the information that was presented by WRCOG, the data points and everything, so that each staff member can go back, analyze that, communicate via email, phone call, at the TAC meetings, what have you, come up with some ideas on some cost distributions, and then when we're ready, we can coordinate another and facilitate another task force meeting.
So what you're saying is we'll not schedule another task force meeting now until it's necessary. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. One last close the loop. You guys, our staff will get more data to quantify impacts and pass-throughs and all that other stuff. And I guess as soon as you get the scope of that data, I think we need to share it with everybody to see that they concur with what we're analyzing. Okay?
We can share the information that WRCOG provided to us at a couple, 3 task meetings ago. That was the trip distribution factor, or not, I keep saying trip distribution factor. Origin destination factors,
Right.
yeah. And we'll share that information with everybody. If we're gonna generate new data, that's gonna bring on another consultant and some added costs and stuff. My understanding was we were gonna distribute the data that was already prepared. Is that correct?
My concern is equity. My concern is equity with the methodology. I've heard my colleague from Murrieta says, if I won't want to put words in your mouth, but you think there's other areas that need to be considered other than just the data we have. And what would that be? Can you make a suggestion how that would be quantified?
Well, I'm not ready to go into a whole policy analysis
No, I
of
don't want
all
that.
of these different, the different things that affect what this subject and the equitable distribution of why things are, why the traffic is the way it is, and what the real reasons are it's backing up when it's supposedly 20% away from being full capacity. But there are other things. There are other things to take into consideration, like I was just talking about. Cars that are coming all the way down to the Winchester to go up to Menifee. I mean, not Menifee, but Winchester area and French Valley, trying to use that route because they're all contributing to an already congested area because people are getting on and off to either go to or from work, or they're going to or from car dealerships, or they're going to or from the the Old Town area, or they're going to and from the wine country, or they're going to and from the Pachanga Resort. But there's a whole lot of other things to take into consideration, and I don't know that those were all covered in the just the distribution of where people are going to and from. And so, that's a whole different layer of analysis that, we.
I'm going to presume that, we only got the data that we asked for from WRCOG. Or WRCOG only bought that data to get the pass-through. But I would presume that the same type of data is available if you want to purchase it for everything you just said.
Right.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So now there's a
Right.
cost for that. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that in order for you guys to decide what you'll do, you'll need that data. And we'd want to get it. Would you help purchase that data with us?
That would have to be something that we discuss with the council.
Could you take that to the council pretty quickly?
Potentially.
I want to do what you're asking for.
Right.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Mike, I understand. But
Okay.
Here's the deal. We've done this for 6-7 months now, and we've come to the point where the hard question that was actually at the beginning of this process is now at the end of the process, and that's how are we going to pay for this? And And a lot of people, Bob McGee, Ben, they've all had the same questions, and we've all kind of bit our tongue because we want to go through this process. I'm just being honest. That's all I'm doing, is just being honest. And that's kind of the hill that we have to climb. And we will, you know, however you want to present it, put it together. And that's why I'm saying, let the staff do more of the work and stop acting frustrated with me, because I'm just trying to be honest with you, Mike.
You are honest,
So-
and I want to accommodate you.
Right.
And yet, I don't want to send our staff down a rabbit hole and give you data that says, well, this isn't it. This isn't what we wanted. My council and my staff are doers. We want to know what you need, and then we're going to go do it.
Yeah.
Okay?
I understand, Mike.
Okay, so tell us what you want, or better yet, go back to your council and tell us what you want to study.
That's one of the things that I think at the staff level, they'll be able to identify what more information we need, and then we'll figure out how we're going to get that information. So we're good with this. We don't need any more. No more. I don't need to discuss it anymore. I think we've discussed it as much as we.
Well, you've given us nothing. This is a Marietta thing, and I don't know can you do anything with what he's saying? I don't know. You know, because I don't know where to go with it.
We'll work at a staff level. I would expect Kelly and his colleagues on the council will convey to Bob and his counterparts, hey, I want to include this in the analysis, that in the analysis, that in the analysis. And at the staff level, they'll be able to figure out, maybe get in contact with WRCOG or the purveyor of the big data and say, is this something we can get? And then if that's something they can purchase, come back to this group, hey, is this something that the whole group would benefit from? Or is this something that Marietta wants to take on and analyze, or Wildemar wants to take on and analyze? So I think they need to go back and pore over what's available.
So your staff, Aaron, will call the various staffs and ask them what they'd like to see in those scopes. Okay?
Yep.
Is that it?
Understood.
Kelly,
We'll
does
follow
that
up.
do it for you? Okay, very good. Was there, I think that's the last thing on the agenda? or-
We,
Of course. Yeah. And then you're up.
I was not reelected to the council, so this was a very good meeting for me to be to, because I have one more chance to talk to my people. But also, it's ingrained in them already. There's been a lot of discussion about what this commission has done. I keep mentioning quality of life. That's what I have to contribute here. We don't have jobs that people are coming to, but we have a quality of life for our citizens that are traveling to work, to play, to the casinos, and that's what I want to move forward. Just because I'm not going to be there doesn't mean that's not going to move forward. Randy will still be here. We will have another member come in, hopefully just as strong, and we'll be able to do what needs to be done. I know that Canyon Lake's not up on that list, but we are on that list, and we are part of this problem, and we want to help make it a solution. I do think there are other partners that can come in. I'm concerned that the wine country isn't involved, because there's people from LA that are going to the wine country.
That's
So
a good point. That's a good
there
point.
has to be some give and take there too. That was my point to the destinations. So that being said, it's been a pleasure being part of this. It's been a pleasure watching it actually make a difference. I'm very excited about the partnering of the 1.25 and then bringing in the rest. I think it's great that we're going forward with that. The 30 million was a coup. And I appreciate everything everybody's done. I will not be far from anybody's ears, so you can always find me.
Thank you, Vicki. Thomas, did you want to say anything on behalf of
Catalina?
Caltrans?
Just an FYI, I was, French Valley Parkway. I was actually the one that prepared the PID for it in 1999. So it's just nice to see that the project is moving forward.
Yeah, thank you.
You talked about as far as other avenues that we could, fund the project. The contribution, the SB1 is really a good avenue. I mean, one thing that we really need to look at is probably partner with the cities, put together a plan, and then submit that grant application. That's one way. And from what I'm hearing, working with the planning department, basically, when you're getting that, you see collaboration between the cities submitting that application, the likelihood of that grant being approved it's up there. So it's just an FYI. As far as additional measures that we're doing as far as Caltrans is concerned, I know there's a grant where we're moving forward with the signal timing coordination within the city. What we're doing is we're going to be partnering with the city to help with the signal timing coordination where we intersect on the freeways, at the on-ramps, off-ramps. So we are working with the city on that one also. So like I said, this is a great team, and I'm glad that we are moving forward and looking forward to getting this project like the French Valley Parkway.
Thomas?
Yeah, so we're moving ahead with the project, no matter what, the full scope of the project, right? So if at some point you can give us word whether you want to take that piece of it out, it would be nice to know that, because we do a lot of studies and stuff, and to add or remove scope from a project to Caltrans just takes more time and more effort. So if at some point, at the earliest possible point, you can let us know, that would be great. The other thing is, just to let you know, the stars kind of align for this project, which never happens. We've got a message from RCTC. Any last projects you want to put in the Regional Transportation Plan, the RTP, and this came up right then. So we were able to put it in. It only comes up every 4 years. And if you don't put it in there, and it's not modeled for air quality, then you can't get your environmental document approved. So it really, things lined up for this project very good, and we're happy it's moving forward.
And Aaron, are we giving them what they need in order to continue to move forward?
They being Caltrans?
Yes.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, we've appreciated the partnership. We've been on the phone with them for 60 days since the last task force, and appreciate all the team members you guys have brought into the conversation, and shaving time, and the November election helped us all out. And so we're happy to be here talking about this reality now.
So we've been basically, as Caltrans, we've been kind of just holding the system together for a while here, because, the economic downturn and all this, we just didn't have that much money in the shop. And we were doing paving, fixes bridges, all that kind of stuff. We haven't done too many operational improvements. So we have one other AUX lane in the system, but before that, we haven't done it for years, and probably 15 years or something. So, our staff's excited to do this too. So we're looking forward to it.
Thomas, we're doing the project. Okay, we're doing the project. So don't stop at all. Okay, we will find the money. Anybody else have anything else to say?
If anybody's interested, I do have copies. She emailed us her notes. So if you want to pick up a copy of what Shirley Medina was talking about, I'll have them on the table in the back here.
Great. Anybody else? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.